you pronounce in this film, by the way?
It's now correctly, isn't it? It's Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Yeah.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I believe, is the full title.
We're going to go through some bits and pieces. Shall we start off with the typical rating from this show? Disputed or
Speaking for me, 100% undisputed. Yeah, it was great. This one was really good.
It's a really good film.
It's complete opposite of What If. It was I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It's weirdly I realized it the other, like when I was watching it, like I think when it got like halfway through, it's the first origin film for Marvel that we've seen in a while. Like when was the last Marvel origin film that we had? I can't remember. Was it Ant-Man?
Captain Marvel, I think.
It was Captain Marvel. It was You're right. It was. But then she'd already been introduced.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's such a weird dynamic where it's the first one we haven't seen on screen before, and it was like a pure origin film. Man, yeah, I will say this about the film: I enjoyed the first half of it more than I enjoyed the second half. I thought the first half was really well done. The second half did get a bit. It got a bit what is becoming a kind of trope of the genre now with comic movies, where it got a bit over the top CGI, actiony, fighty, which we'll come to. I'm one of the ones, again, this is why we need Drac here sometimes, but I'm one of the ones who knew almost nothing about Shang-Chi, other than the fact that he's the master, in the books, he's the master of martial arts, and there's no form of martial arts he cannot perform. He's kind of like I'm going to get complaints about this, but I always thought of him in the comics, this isn't what they said, but I always thought of it as like, oh, he's a depowered Iron Fist. That's basically what he is. I know I'm going to get comments on that. That's just how I thought about it in my head, guys. That's not
as a perception.
I'm not saying that. As a perception, exactly. That's not what But I think it's safe to say that in terms of kind of like Marvel heroes, there's kind of A-list heroes like Spider-Man, X-Men, B-list heroes until recently, which were like your Thors, your Captain Americas, until obviously the MCU exploded, and then there's C-list heroes. And Shang-Chi is like up until this, very much a C-list hero. Like I went out and bought on Monday. I bought a definitive Shang-Chi like comic, like a graphic novel, which is behind me on the shelf there. All of the stories in there are entwined with other heroes. So like the first story is like with Wolverine. The next story is like with the Avengers. The next story is like with like Ghost Rider, I think is what you know what I mean. It's always like like he's always involved with other people. It's never just him. So I thought that this film did a really good job of establishing him and why he is a threat.
Yes.
So probably the biggest change from the comic books in this is that his father is the Mandarin. We finally see proper Mandarin. It's the number 49 on the menu, delicious chicken Mandarin. And I'll tell you what, on screen it just looks, I would eat that down, no problem.
That joke he does about the title, I really liked, because it's so well delivered. Because again, like you say, he puts up this perception that he's been around for centuries. Not so much the perception, but we know he's been around for years and stuff.
Yeah, so we'll go through very quickly the plot of the film. So basically, we get the introduction of the Mandarin, and he has these rings. I think they're very loosely called rings because they're bracelets that he wears on his arm, and they're basically make him a force to be reckoned with. They do. That is one thing I will say I was slightly, from a purist comic book perspective, slightly disappointed about, was that the 10 rings, they were very generic in what they did. They made some whippy lightning stuff, and that was it.
Interesting. I may have to disagree with you there, but I'll let you proceed with your explanation of the plot.
Thanks. Allow me to have my own opinion. Thanks. Well, in the comic books, the idea is that Mandarin's got each of his 10 rings does something different. So like there's one that controls electricity, there's one that controls fire. I think there's gravity manipulation, molecular manipulation, and stuff like that. Yeah. So each one is a different thing, which made him, the comic book iteration of the Mandarin, the original Mandarin in today's society, it does not come across well at all. So I have no problem with them updating the representation of the Mandarin to be what he is today, because They made him properly good in this film. Like he was really good, and he wasn't a one-dimensional villain either. He was very complex, and I really liked him. I thought he was great. I just didn't like the idea.
As well.
Very memorable, yeah. I just didn't like the fact that the rings kind of seemed a bit generic. That's all. It just seemed like they, I guess it's depending on. We'll find out later on. We'll come back to the rings a bit later, I'm sure, to discuss in the after credit scene and stuff like that. But no, he established that they can give him seemingly immortal life. He seems to never age, and he referred to himself as, like he said, I've been called many names.
Yes,
and one of the names was Khan. So there is the question of whether or not he was Genghis Khan. Was what I was like, oh, okay, maybe they've tried to say he's as old as Genghis Khan when Genghis Khan went, but Genghis Khan was also a murderer and a rapist. So let's hope it wasn't him. It's history, buddy. That is what it is. I'm afraid.
I know. I'm not going to deny history.
But yeah. So anyway, basically, Mandarin, he did everything, and then he became like a shadowy figure, and he created this organization called the Ten Rings. So the Ten Rings has been it's been in the MCU since the first Iron Man. And so there was a faction of them that caused Iron Man to exist, really. The Ten Rings are responsible for Iron Man existing. That, for me, right there, is a little tinge of sadness. I have to be honest with you, because when you think of Iron Man, his arch villain, his arch nemesis has always been and always will be in the comics, the Mandarin. That is Iron Man's arch villain, because no matter how many times he eats it, he just gets indigestion. No, that is always that's always his arch nemesis, and we're never going to see it now. We're never going to see the cinema, the MCU version of Iron Man go against the MCU version of Mandarin. That is a tinge of sadness for me, because my God, the scenes between Downey Jr. and this guy would have been absolutely incredible. Unbelievable. And I've forgotten the actor's name, and that's really bad of me. I'm going to look it up now so that he can get the proper credit he deserves, because he's so good. But that for me is a really sad bit, that like he's not gonna, that we're not going to see it.
They'll never cross paths.
They'll never cross paths, exactly. Or if they do, if they do have any kind of anything like this, it will be a watered down or slightly different version of it. Tony Chua Leung, who I can never pronounce correctly, but he's the one who's, and it's not actually, I should point out as well, he's not the Mandarin either in the film. He refers to, so there's the thing that Zane was talking about, we'll come to it, but Shang-Chi is the son of the Mandarin. He's been raised by the Mandarin to be the perfect killer, which is why he's so proficient in martial arts. He's also got a sister, Xiling, I think her name is. So anyway, Shang-Chi, his mission is to go and kill, well, we don't know what his mission actually is at the beginning, but he gets sent on an assassination mission when he's 14, and he gets sent to America, and he never comes back. And then pick up 10 years later, he has a best friend called Katie, and he is a valet for a hotel chain, parking cars. And he's changed his name to Shane, which I thought was... Is it Sean?
Yeah, because there's the whole joke that...
it is Sean. Yeah, you're right. It is Sean. It is Sean. No, shit. I was about to say, which I thought it was funny, because there was we made a joke on this podcast about the fact that we couldn't pronounce the name, so we nicknamed it Shane Childs, and like the name that he uses in the film is so ridiculously close to his actual name, there might as well not be a name change. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna have to help me out with the name of the village. Tao Lo, thank you. A mythical village known as Tao Lo, and that's where she's from. So he's I guess he's like, on the mother's side of things, they're from this village, Tao Lo, and then his dad's the Mandarin. The mother's dead. The mother died when they were very young, and we find out later on what happens. But anyway, somebody comes for this necklace, which is supposed to unlock the gateway to Tao Lo. That's what it's supposed to do. And what proceeds to happen is one of the most amazing fight sequences I've ever seen in an MCU movie. Mate, I almost swore. It's flipping amazing, on a bus, where we proceed to see exactly why Shang-Chi is going to be amazing in these films, because he just kicks the ass of everyone on this bus, whilst simultaneously saving every civilian, innocent person on this bus. And it is just incredible. Like, it's so well done.
That scene is probably the gem of this movie.
Like, it's easily the best fight scene in this film. That being said, the fight scene where he goes against his sister later on is also very good. But anyway,
it's it's very reminiscent of old Jackie Chan movies as well. Like it's has that sort of, you know, oh, I'm going to flip around this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because it's choreographed.
No, I wasn't going to say because it was choreographed, but I thought it went to the bit later on, the bamboo bit when they're on the side of the building. That I was like, this is a Jackie Chan movie. Like this is exactly like a Jackie Chan movie because it was exactly like that.
Yeah, and apparently the choreography for those sort of scenes were done by someone who worked with Jackie Chan, like who was in one of his stunt teams. So that's why there's that kind of essence, you could say. But yeah,
there's so many. I mean, a lot of that generation of Hong Kong performers, like Michelle Yeoh, for example, she went to the same school that Jackie Chan was at when he was doing his Chinese opera.
Oh wow.
There was a group of them. So Sammo Hung as well as another guy, and I can't remember who the third guy. Basically, there was three of them. There was Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and somebody else who I can't remember, and it's really bad. They were together at this opera school when they were younger, before Hong Kong cinema exploded, basically with Bruce Lee and all this other kind of stuff. So they all went to the same school, so they all have the same kind of background. So when you see these people perform and stuff like that, they're all from the same kind of roots of things. It's if you get the chance to read Jackie Chan's autobiography, I highly recommend reading it. It's fascinating, and he is fascinating, and he's an amazing singer as well. I don't know if you knew that.
He
got a hell of a pipes on him. But you'll see in Jackie Chan's films, normally in quite a few of them, Sammo Hung will pop up from time to time. He's really he's a big fat guy, like he's fat Hong Kong. So you'll normally see him, and the reason why is because they went to school together, like they grew up together. So they're all kind of like close knit friends. And then like Jackie Chan has his own. Sorry, I'm sprawling off on a Jackie Chan rant now. I'm sorry, but it's interesting you say that about this film. I can't remember what it's called. What's it called? I want to say Madripoor, but it's not Madripoor.
It's not Madripoor. It's Drax said it last week, didn't he?
He did.
And you said spoiler.
Yeah, damn it, Drax, where are you?
He called him out on that spoiler.
Of course I did, and it was a massive spoiler. How dare he? Anyway, regardless, they go to this place. They go to this place in the east. There you go. That's about as vague as I can make it. And his sister is running an underground fighting ring. Who is in the pit when they get there?
Oddly, it's Wong versus Abomination.
It is Wong versus Abomination, which is really weird. Why is that?
Oddly, there's no real reason, is there? Because they have this bout, and then Wong opens a portal, which I think looked like a prison from where I was. Like it looked a bit like the cage from Avengers.
The raft,
but inside the raft there was that special pod that they put Loki in, which was built for the Hulk.
Oh, the Hulk. Yes, I got you. Yeah. Like the isolation pod.
It kind of looked like that from a distance, from what I can make out. But they seem to be chummy at the same time.
Yeah, they're like friendly with each other. And he was like, one's trying to instruct him on how to punch. And it's like, because the way that Wong beats him is Wong opens up a portal so that the Abomination ends up punching himself. I like that they've gone back to original comic book look for Abomination, where he's got the fins on the side of his head and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. Didn't like the fact he didn't talk. They obviously couldn't get Tim Roth in for it, but it was what it was. It was a nice little thing. I don't know what the hell it means. Maybe we'll see more of this in the long term, because obviously in the No Way Home trailer, Wong's going somewhere. Yeah.
The two theories I've seen out of it, the first one we've heard before, which is probably leading to Thunderbolts. Like we've seen Abomination now.
Good point. I didn't even think about that.
So maybe that's a Thunderbolt sort of Easter egg.
Maybe he's training them.
Maybe. The other theory I saw was, I don't know if you remember, but in Infinity War, Wong doesn't have money for a tuna sub. And they're like, I wonder if Wong's making money.
A tuna melt.
A tuna melt, yeah. Making money in Fight Clubs.
Got a side scheme.
A side hustle besides teaching.
That's the way it is. Oh, I hope that's what it is. That'd be fantastic. Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so once this is just it's literally like a 2-minute thing, and then it's gone. And then Shang-Chi finds his sister. They have a fight. His sister bests him with the most devastating kick ever, which looks awesome. And then it's revealed that she didn't actually send the letter. It was their dad, who then sends in his goon squad to go after them. Katie's with him, I should point out. At this, Katie has gone with him on his journey. She's the plucky sidekick who's with him, and the smart ass who's with him. And then we get a fight scene on the side of a building between Shang-Chi, his sister Xiling, and Katie against these goons. And that was the point for me where I was like, man, this feels so much like a Jackie Chan film, because you've got this whole situation where he's fighting off all these guys, and then Katie's in trouble, and the bamboo's falling and snapping, and he's trying to get across to get to her to save her, whilst also fighting off all these other people and stuff. And I was just like, man, this feels so like a Jackie Chan film, and I loved it. It was great. It was fantastically well done. Anyway, long story short, they get off that, and then the Mandarin turns up, and then we get probably quite a big plot exposition dump, where we get an explanation of who he is, who Shang-Chi is, what his connection is to the Mandarin, and what his ties are. I keep calling him the Mandarin. Zhu Wenwu is his name. I think I'm pronouncing that right? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think there's another name given, which is Wenwu.
Wenwu, that was it. Just call him Wenwu. Yeah. So Wenwu is the head of the 10 Rings. He is he is Mandarin. We get it explained to us that some American appropriated his name in order to spread fear throughout the West, and they used an actor to do it, and they called him a chicken dish, and he was obviously very offended by this. And the reason why he wants to do what he wants to do is that he has had a vision, inverted commas vision, from his wife, who is dead, saying that she is alive and well and being trapped in her original village because she was bad for marrying Wenwu, because he's an outsider. So that is the whole motivation for why Wenwu is doing what he's doing. As far as motivations go, it's a better motivation than most villains in the MCU, and he needs his kids' help, basically. But they are aware that he will, if they don't release his wife, he will burn the village to the ground. So they're aware he's going to be a very, very bad person. So they obviously don't want that to happen, because that's half their familial ties in that village. So then, because they won't help him, he gets angry and he throws them in prison. What happens next? Zane?
Whilst in prison, they come across the spectacular Ben Kingsley. Ole, 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 ole.
It's Nigel. He's back. Oh, Trevor Slattery is back.
Trevor's back. I couldn't help but feel like he was doing his best Paul McCartney in this.
Really?
It must be. It's got to be a Beatle. It's either that. There's no way it's a Ringo. If it was a Ringo, it'd be more wild.
Wasn't it, John? Okay. I can kind of. I guess as far as the accent's concerned, he's very. I guess he's very. Yeah, he's quite Paul. A little bit of George in there, but
a Liverpool scarf as well, Liverpool Football Club scarf throughout it, and I was like, this feels like a McCartney.
Well, it's established, isn't it, when he's watching the football, when you meet him in the previous in Iron Man 3, he's football obsessed. Man, I unfortunately had this spoiled, and
oh really?
Mark Commode, if you're out there, I'm coming for you, because you spoiled it in your review. It was supposed to be a spoiler-free review, and he talks about a very famous English actor who's been in the MCU before. And I'm like, well, of course that's going to be Ben Kingsley. What other tie is there? Yeah, Trevor Slattery, who's made a new friend, and I can't remember what the friend's name is now. Morris, that was it. Yeah, thank you. You're good with the names tonight, Zane. My head is gone, guys. I apologize. Yeah, Morris, the arse-faced creature from the village.
Yeah, the faceless little flying pig.
Yeah, it's lovely little thing. I liked it. I bet he's very soft. So anyway, basically Trevor is effectively like this guide now for like where the movie's going to go. So because the kids grew up in the compound and because they know exactly how to get out of the compound and to escape, so it's not a problem for Shang-Chi and his sister Xiling to escape. So they get out and then they proceed to the village. And at the village, we meet, what's her name? Ying Nan?
Yes.
Which I think is Michelle Yeoh's character.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we meet Ying Nan, and she is their auntie. On the mother's side, obviously. And this was where the film kind of, for me, got a little bit kind of like, this was almost perfect. And then you've kind of started to, you've fallen into some old traps of like,
yeah.
So we get the explanation that there was like some, I can't remember what they called it, the Desolate One or something like that, or the.
Yeah, I can't remember what they refer to it as, but essentially like a bad sort of.
It's a soul sucker.
Spirit. Yeah, it's a bad monster.
A monster that consumes souls, basically. And way, way, way back when, it was imprisoned behind this mountainous wall with this dragon scale protection, stopping it from ever breaking through. The only thing that can break it through is the 10 rings. So right there, we're then established that it's not Wenwu's wife. Lee? Is her name Lee? I want to say her name's Lee. I think it is.
Quite possibly.
I know it's Fala Chen as the actress because she's gorgeous, but I think it's Lee. I think that's the wife's name. It's not her anyway. It's this monster that's trying to coax him into being broken free. So it's about growth. It's about Shang-Chi learning about his family. It's about Shang-Chi accepting who he is and what he has to do, and how he can, and who he is in himself, because he's been told by so many different people who he should be. And he's run from so many different things that he should really take responsibility for. So then we get, it's not really a montage, but it's kind of like a montage. You gotta have a montage.
Big training.
Time moves faster when you're in a montage. So basically from there, it's like your standard MCU affair. Wenwu turns up with his army, the village fights, everyone learns their lessons. Shang-Chi has a big fight with Wenwu, which is fantastically good. Like, it is really good. Then Shang-Chi gets temporarily immobilized, and then Wenwu manages to break the door, which unleashes more tentacly, beastly stuff. Marvel are going very tentacly in this phase. Like, we've had a lot of tentacles in What If. This is the first Marvel film we've had in this phase, and it's all tentacles. Shumagorath is going to be in Doctor Strange, and he is literally a tentacle monster.
That's very true.
So they're going very tentacly this season on the MCU. So yeah, once the things start breaking out, they start sucking souls, and then it is literally, I mean, there's not much more I can really say about it other than there's a big CGI battle. Mandarin Wenwu loses, and he sacrifices himself for his son. So in the end, he is a villain, but he's not a
villain with a heart.
Exactly. He's got soul. Oh, not anymore. And then Shang-Chi uses the rings. He uses the power of the rings to banish this soul-sucking creature and kill it for good. And that's it. And then everyone returns to their normal lives, and everyone's happy. And Shang-Chi is now the bearer of the 10 rings. So that's a really very rushed and garbled and mumbled description of this film, guys. If you haven't gone out and seen it, I'm sorry I just ruined it for you, but it's your own fault for listening to this podcast in the first place. If you haven't gone and seen it, go and watch it, because it's really good. Like, it's a really good origin film. I'm interested to see if they're going to tap into the full mythology of the 10 rings, because they are otherworldly. I'm not sure what their origins are in the comic book. I know they're from a spaceship. They're from like an alien spaceship in the comic books.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a lot of rumors that they might, because they were bracelets in this, instead of being, they might have been the rings of Fin Fam Foom. Like, that's why they were so big.
I assumed, yeah.
But we get some dragons in this, but we don't get Fin Fam Foom. So whether that was supposed to be Fin Fam Foom that defends the village in the big watery CGI fight at the end, maybe, but they didn't really explain it very well if it was.
And they don't name the dragon either. They just, like you said, call it the Great Protector.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the rings are an interesting element, because like you said before, they're not used in the same way as they were in the comic books, but in this, it kind of reminds me a lot of more kung fu movies where there's like the way of the Iron Fist, not Iron Fist. Is it Iron Fist? I'm pretty sure there's a Jet Li film where he uses the iron bangles, or maybe I'm thinking of Kung Fu Hustle. In Kung Fu Hustle, there's another person. There's like a tailor, and he rips down a curtain. And he puts all the rings that were from the curtain on his forearms, and he's
I think that's Kung Fu Hustle. I think off the top of my head, it's been a while since I've seen that film.
There was a poster of it in Shang-Chi's room as well, which I thought that's a great little Easter egg. Yeah, the rings, and again the way that they're used in this, because again with Shang-Chi, he uses them as a flowy sort of counter to powerful strike moves and such, and the visuals and the colors and stuff are amazing in that regard as well.
It's a weird thing. It seems they seem to respond to power as well, like whoever is the strongest willed or whatever it is, because obviously they're in Wenwei's control. His control for most of the film, and then it's only when Shang-Chi becomes more powerful than Wenwei that he loses half the rings in the first place, and then Shang-Chi can just basically takes all of them. So they seem to respond to that level of power. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I mean, there wasn't. I'm sure there are loads of Easter eggs that were hidden inside the film that I haven't picked out yet. I mean, the biggest thing that I really want to talk about is the two. So there were two after credits scenes. We'll talk about the slightly less impressive one first, which was Xiling takes over the 10 Rings. So his sister becomes the leader of the 10 Rings now, and so they were supposed to be disbanding it, but she's doing the opposite, and she is running the 10 Rings. So that's still going to be an organization. It's still going to be a shadowy organization, I guess, and they're still running underneath the radar. So I wonder what kind of ramifications we will see, especially bearing in mind that Sharon Carter has become like a power broker now.
That's very true.
Whether or not we'll see some kind of connection between the two of them, because I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of connection between that and Madripoor in the future. It just makes too much sense not to be. So that was the first one. Not much to say about that one. Pretty cut and dry. Fair enough. She's taken over, and we're going to see more of it in the future. The other one, the other after credit scene. Oh boy, there's a lot to talk about in this one. So, Zane, would you like to cover this one? As I've done a lot of talking tonight, and I'm conscious that listeners are probably sick of my voice.
Yeah, sure. So, in this after credit scene, we get a call back to Shang-Chi and Katie in the bar, talking to their friends about their adventure, which sounds really crazy, but it's actually, of course, all true. A portal opens, and we see Wong, and Wong asks for both of them to come join him. Now, oddly, I thought this is where the scene would end. I thought, oh, that's cool. But no, it keeps going. And we're like, oh. So Wong explains that the 10 Rings are unlike anything they've ever seen before. They have a hologram of Bruce Banner on the line, and they also have Captain Marvel. And they both confirmed that Captain Marvel confirms that it's unlike any alien tech she's seen. And I think Banner confirms that they're possibly older, or they're older than anything they've ever measured before, if memory serves me right.
They don't match any known metal on Earth.
That's right, yeah. It's not like vibranium or anything along those lines. But then I think Wong also extends on that and says there's no history of them in Taj Mahal, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Kamataj, sorry.
Taj Mahal is a place in India.
It is a real place.
Yes. Kamataj, and there seems to be some sort of beacon inside the rings as well. Yeah, it's emitting some kind of beacon, but only since Shang-Chi has taken control of them. So it's only triggered since this thing. Loads of questions came out of this cutscene, right? So this mid-credit scene. So the first thing that came to my mind was Bruce Banner is not the Hulk anymore.
Yeah.
So the last time we saw Bruce Banner, he was Professor Hulk, and he was permanently in the Hulk's body with Bruce Banner's brain. He still has his arm in the sling, presumably from where he did the snap.
Yes.
His arm is permanently like that. But why is he now human Bruce Banner again? That I was like, that's weird, considering we've seen him. It's been established that he's got the best of both worlds now, and he knows how to be Professor Hulk. That's odd that they've taken him out. So I'm wondering what is going to happen there that will change him back. Captain Marvel is not on Earth again. So she's clearly not on Earth. She's somewhere else. It is classic. It's weird considering there are now Guardians of the Galaxy. So why is she needed out there, really? You know, I mean, it is. So what threat has taken her away? Potentially a Skrull war, maybe?
I was going to say Skrull stuff, no doubt, especially with the Secret Invasion coming up.
But bearing in mind they're doing Ms. Marvel soon, it was surprising that she was not on Earth, because I would have figured that she would have been quite a main character in that. But there you go, c'est la vie. The biggest question mark: where is Doctor Strange?
Oh, really? That was the big question for you?
Well, not the biggest, maybe, but like, yeah, dude. Like, are you kidding me? Like, sorry, it's like a massive magical event that is happening and is felt throughout all of Kamar-Taj, and the Sorcerer Supreme isn't there for it.
He's busy with Spider-Man, I would assume. Like Spider-Man.
He's busy with Spider-Man? What is that? What is that, Zane? Oh, sorry, I can't deal with this unprecedented magical event that is happening over here that could be beaconing impending doom. I've got to help out a teenager wipe people's memories.
I'm speculating. Who's to say? He is the Sorcerer Supreme, as you say. Maybe he's doing other things. Like, we just don't know.
Well, my immediate thought was either something's happened to him in Spider-Man No Way Home that has put him out of action, which is why he's not there, or he is this film takes place almost at the same time as Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and he's dealing with Wanda.
Yeah, that was kind of my assumption. The other thing I thought of is we know how arrogant he can be about taking certain patients' cases, shall we say?
Oh yeah, it's not going to be that. It's not going to be that. Dude. They've already I'm not being funny, but like I don't think they want to. They've already had that kind of arrogant genius with Tony Stark kind of thing. They're not going to. Doctor Strange, whilst he is arrogant and he is full of himself, he's humbled. Like the idea behind Doctor Strange is he's not a massive arse. You know what I mean? He's still he's still nice to people, like he's still friendly with people, and he's not like an arrogant douche like Tony Stark can be. You know, it's just it's so like I don't believe that. And if you watch that in the book, in the comics as well, he's not like that either. He's not an arrogant idiot. You know, he is. So there's got to be a reason why he's not there. There really has to be, because if it's the level of magnitude that nobody has any idea what these things are, there's no way. Like, my thought was potentially, and this was a wild out there theory, so it's not Mephisto. So what if the 10 rings are the beacon that Shumagorath needs to come from his dimension into ours? What if they're the bridge that will lead him in? And what if they're his rings?
I see.
Maybe they're his tentacly rings. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
I see what you're saying.
Human finger size rings. What if they go on big tentacles instead of dragon fingers? It's a possibility. They've already established that there are tentacly monsters that want to get into this dimension. So maybe that's what it is, and maybe I don't know. But obviously, you know, it's Marvel. So you know that when they say, for all we know, it could, you know, this like beacon through the rings that has somehow been activated by Shang-Chi using them. For all we know, it could be like, you know, like Tobey Maguire's delivering pizzas in Spider-Man 2. Pizza time, you know, that could be what it is.
A popular theory I've seen online is that they probably link to the Eternals. Like maybe
I was thinking that
from their ship or something, you know.
It's interesting you say that though, because I was thinking maybe it's the Deviants, maybe it's they are coming, and that is what is awakening the Eternals. But if you look at the releasing schedule for Marvel, the Eternals were supposed to be out already. So the Eternals were supposed to come out before Shang-Chi, and then it was actually supposed to come out before WandaVision as well, in the original lineup of things. And it's been established that the snap is the thing that has awoken the Eternals. So I don't think it is the Eternals. I really don't. The only other things that I could think of, maybe maybe Galactus, something to do with Galactus, maybe, or like, you know, the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
It could be like, you know, Power Cosmic, maybe, and it's Herald, like a Herald of Galactus is incoming or something, you know, like Surfer or something. I mean, but we're stretching, you know. I don't know.
yeah.
The only other thing it could potentially be is like the Council of Kang, maybe. You know, maybe like it's Kang's like linchpin, to be able to kind of get into, you know, this reality. But again, that's just spitballing a load of stuff there. It's more likely to be some. I would say it's much more likely to be something tied into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Probably Shumagorath related, I would guess, as he's almost confirmed to be in the film. So that would be my hot theory on it. But yeah, amazing film, fantastic film. Not the best Marvel film ever, but it's up there as far as origin films are concerned. Certainly, it was really, really good.
Absolutely, 100% agree. I really enjoyed this. Like you said, there's little things I think fell apart from, like introducing a new big bad right towards the end. Felt a bit cheesy, but again, bar that, happily. Oh, and the other thing I that annoyed me is Death Dealer. I was like, Death Dealer got done dirty.
Death Dealer does not have a fun time of it. He had his soul sucked quick.
Yeah, but there we go. It's a great film, regardless. Either way.
I would like to see more. I hope they bring back Wenwu, even in some other form. I don't know, or somehow they bring him back, because the Mandarin's a great. Again, though, it's the issue of like the Mandarin is such a great villain, but he's lost his main hero. He has no hero to go against, really. You know,
sorry.
No, go on.
One thing I was going to ask you is something that you've mentioned before in the past about people being on the Avenger, like especially with Falcon, is like someone not being superpowered. Do you think Shang-Chi inheriting the 10 rings puts him in that Avengers category now? Instead of a man who just does martial arts, he's a man with rings and martial arts.
So it depends what happens to the rings. If they are destroyed or if they are used for other things, if they are this beacon thing and they get depowered quite quickly, he's good. Shang-Chi's going straight street level Avengers. However, currently, I feel like what you were saying to me about the rings being you know, part of his body and like, you know, an extension of his being and like, you know, flowing with his movements. I think that I don't think their true potential has been unlocked, and I think I think he probably will learn how to manipulate matter and manipulate all these other things using the 10 rings. So I think that probably will happen in the future, and then he'll be in the. I would imagine they'll put him in cosmic, you know, Avengers kind of thing, because he'll be OP. Yeah, it's weird because right now he kind of sits somewhere in the middle. I would say based on current powers and stuff like that, he's a ground-based Avengers. He's you know, he's on the more powerful side of the ground-based Avengers, because he's still just a man who's got a tech extension, basically. If they explore more what the rings do, and if they start to do more stuff, then he'll move up. But right now it's ground-based, baby.
There we go, ground-based. Cool. That's everything, I guess.
Pretty much for this one this week. So for those of you who are listening to this first, we're going to be putting out another podcast this week covering the other side of the news and everything else that's been going on. So watch out for that one, because it is coming, and we're going to be dead by the end of it because we're doing a full session today. So you know, we're going to keep the energy levels up.
Here we go.
But check that out, guys, if you haven't already, because we're going to be talking about all the latest news and the Matrix trailer, which I'm excited about. Spoilers. So look out for that, and also let us know what you thought of Shang-Chi, because we really want to hear your opinions on it, because we thought it was amazing, but we're always looking to hear what other people have to say regarding the MCU as a whole. Exactly.
Also, get the Shang-Chi comic like we have in trade. Look at that. Ooh.
Beautiful.
Marvel, sponsor us.
Come on, Marvel, up your game.
It's about time.
Look at this man. He's like a lion. Up your game. This man could be Craven. Come on.
Wow. Cool. Thanks for joining us.